Polycubes, or orthogonal polyhedra, are useful as parameterization base complexes for various operations in computer graphics. However, computing good quality polycube base complexes for general shapes remains an open problem, and so most applications rely on manually or semi-manually constructed base complexes. Good polycubes must balance compactness or chart and singularity count against parametric distortion. The bunny on the left is too crude, producing high distortion. The squirrel on the right contains redundant singularities. We improve on the state-of-the-art in polycube computation, generating polycubes that combine a small singularity count with low distortion. We observe that a polycube parameterization aligns triangle normals with signed principal axis directions, defining a segmentation of the input mesh. To compute a polycube base domain for an input mesh, we therefore employ a two-step process. We first compute a polycube segmentation, associating each input mesh triangle with one of 6 signed principal axis directions. We then generate the polycube geometry and the parameterization with respect to the input mesh. A desirable polycube segmentation must be compact and induce a low distortion parameterization between the input model and the polycube. We use 2 components to predict the distortion for a given labeling. Each chart should map to the corresponding axis-aligned polygon of low distortion. Therefore, we use a fidelity metric that measures the angle between the normal of each triangle and the oriented axis it is associated with. We need to map chart boundaries to polycube edges, thus we want low curvature boundaries. In particular, we must avoid non-monotone ones, where the boundary orientation with respect to the corresponding axis changes abruptly. We also require the segmentation to satisfy topological validity constraints discussed in the paper. Our PolyCut algorithm is designed to satisfy all of these criteria. We start by computing an unconstrained labeling that balances fidelity and compactness, but this labeling can contain non-monotone boundaries. We cannot express global conditions, like monotonicity, as local labeling constraints. We therefore use a specialized local search algorithm, which searches for monotone segmentations that are close to the initial labeling. Each step of the algorithm locally perturbs the optimized fidelity term across 6 branches in the vicinity of non-monotone boundaries, and reapplies the GraphCut optimization with a set of constraints aimed at minimizing deviation from the best obtained solution. Here we visualize the change in fidelity term in 3 different branches, increasing attraction to the red label, to the blue label, and decreasing attraction to gray. The results of the relabeling are used to update the constraints and to guide the location and magnitude of the next perturbation. The process terminates once all the non-monotone boundaries are resolved. Given the segmentation, we extract the polycube geometry and compute the parameterization between the polycube and the input mesh as described in the paper. Here are some more results. On this input, like on many others, the initial labeling generates multiple non-monotone boundaries. PolyCut successfully resolves these boundaries in an intuitive way. One important advantage of our approach is a flexible user control between fidelity and compactness. Our method is able to generate results with significantly fewer singularities and charts than previous methods, while achieving comparable or better distortion. In contrast to Gregson et al., our method resolves all non-monotone boundaries. On average, our method reduces the number of singularities by 30% while simultaneously reducing distortion. Using our polycubes for hex meshing leads to better mesh quality than that provided by previous methods.